The collaborations I think we're going to see, to me, is what's going to be the most exciting. It's not that we fractionalize or securitize music royalties. It's what have we created in this ecosystem that's going to allow fan and artists to collaborate in ways that we haven't even thought of yet.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, your host, joined per usual by Gary Voigt. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing this week?
I cannot complain. About to go on vacation, so I'm really not able to complain. Very excited. Anyway,
Are you halfway here, or are you going to be here
I'm
today
here
for this podcast? Are you thinking about vacation, or are you thinking about a guest?
I'm here. I got 4 more days.
Okay.
Come
Just
Friday,
checking.
I'm probably useless, but it's Monday, so I'm.
All right.
More importantly, we are joined today by Sean Peace, who is the CEO of SongVest. Welcome, Sean. How are you?
Doing good. I'm not about to go on vacation, so I wish I was.
Yeah, me too.
We just chained Gary to the chair. He's not allowed to go on vacation. It's what you don't see. That's off camera. It's all the weights we have keeping him to the chair. So tell me about SongVest.
Sure. SongVest is really a journey. It's not, even though we still consider ourselves a startup, the idea hit me all the way back in like 2000. And a good friend of mine became a pretty famous songwriter. And she mentioned one day she might sell her catalog. And me being a consummate entrepreneur, although on the tech side, I had a lot of questions. I was like, I didn't know you could buy and sell music. Like, why would you do it? Who would you sell it to? How would you do it? And the lightning bolt moment for me was, wouldn't a fan pay more than an investor to own a piece of song? Because how cool is it to own like a piece of your favorite song? And that has really been a journey since then. The first version of SongVest started in 2008. And when you start to fractionalize something, especially an asset, all of a sudden lawyers said, you're creating a security. And I'm like, what's that? So I've learned a lot about security laws. And so the long story or the short story is fast forward to 2020 and restarted SongVest back up. I know you probably don't want to hear all the gory details in between, but we raised enough capital to where I could kind of get to that ultimate dream because the Jobs Act, which allows you to fractionalize different asset classes. So there's this thing called Regulation A Plus. And fast forward a little bit more after COVID, in 2021, we were the first company to fractionalize music royalties and get SEC qualification to do it. The SongVest right now has 3 cores. We sell music catalogs, we do advances on music catalogs, and then we allow artists to use our fractional model to carve up small pieces of royalty shares to share with their fans and create what we call an elevated version of a super fan or casual fan, which is an invested fan. And we're still continuing to learn about what it means to be an invested fan. How can artists engage invested fans in ways that we haven't even thought of before? Because as soon as you have that concept of ownership, like, what does that mean? What does it mean for you to be a co-owner with an artist? Like, what can we empower those invested fans to do? So that's what SongVest is today. It started a long time ago. It's been a very long journey to get here. But yeah, we're super excited about creating this new world of invested fans and seeing where that collaboration between artist and fan are going to take not only the fan, but also the artist.
So if you're an invested fan, are you investing in the artist or a specific song or an album?
So usually it's song by song. It could be an album, but what we're focusing on more today is that song. So it could be like, for example, we have TLC on the site, or actually we'll be back on the site because of an SEC thing. We have to requalify every 3 years. So we're going through that process right now. But it will be back up on the site. And so like with TLC, it was a re-record. Think of like Taylor Swift when she re-recorded her masters. We have a lot of artists who are interested in doing that as well, because that way they, depends on what kind of record label deal they have, et cetera. But they could use an old song, meaning the royalties from that old song, or it could be a remastered new song. of a classic hit. So TLC did Digging on You, Creep, No Scrubs. And in that particular example, fans have purchased over $150,000 of those song shares for those remasters. So it just all depends on what the artist is interested in. So we really have that discussion with them and, what do they feel their fans are going to want most? But pretty much any kind of royalty stream we can carve up and sell to the fans.
So this is more than just being like a Patreon, where you're not just giving money to an artist that you like to watch them and grow, whatever. You're actually getting something in return from that.
Yeah, so there's actually a couple things. So you are getting the monetary, meaning that the income from the royalty stream, although we are not selling this as an investment. We're really selling it more as a fan engagement. It would be like if you bought, say, a box set of vinyl and the vinyl actually paid you every quarter, right? So what we include, and this has also been an evolution of where we're going, is before it was just, a digital certificate and that's all you got in these royalties. And now we're really figuring out, okay, what is it that fans want? Like in this next big launch that we're getting ready to have, it's going to be a 7-inch piece of vinyl and with cover art on it, on the center. It's going to showcase what you've purchased as well as the cover of that 7-inch vinyl, which is all going to have, again, a unique graphic design on it so that what you purchase, you can actually take and open and feel it and frame it if you want to. There's upsell opportunities where if you want, a bigger version, instead of my dog in the background, you want a big, triple platinum album award like you see on TV. You can even upgrade to that. Maybe it has handwritten lyrics or hand signed lyrics. And that's really all up to the artist to decide, hey, what are the perks of being an invested fan with that artist? And then the second piece of that is ongoing engagement, right? Because this isn't necessarily a one and done. We believe that artists will want to continue that fan engagement with those invested fans to think, here's an easy example. Even though I may own an old song of that particular artist, maybe that artist is dropping a new album. I'm an invested fan. I want to help. So if that artist says, hey, listen, I'm dropping, a new album next week. So instead of just in their Instagram, they're posting it, we provide all this information so that the invested fans, 5,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 of those invested fans are all posting on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook organically. And now we have something that can maybe move the needle, right? If they're going on tour, maybe there's ways that you can help promote that, or, you can get a group of friends together and maybe there's the artist says, hey, if you're an invested fan, come back and see me backstage, et cetera. So we think there's a whole bunch of different ways that artists are going to learn. And same way with invested fans, like what can they offer? Maybe they can offer things to the artist that we've never even thought of before. Hey, I run a marketing agency. I see you're going to drop a new album. Can I help promote it? So the collaborations I think we're going to see, to me, is what's going to be the most exciting. It's not that we fractionalize or securitize music royalties. It's what have we created in this ecosystem that's going to allow fan and artists to collaborate in ways that we haven't even thought of yet. And that's what's most exciting for me.
So you mentioned that you don't consider this a financial vehicle. So you should do this as a fan of the artist. There may be some sort of financial thing to it because you do have royalty rights, but it is possible, maybe unlikely, but there's a new artist. Let's say it's a new rap artist and you just like his stuff. He's new. He hadn't come out yet really, or he's local. Let's say he's a local regional kind of artist. And you invest in a song that you're super excited about. And then that song explodes, a year later, goes national, and he's got 1 billion streams out of nowhere. That could become decent amount of something.
Oh,
theoretically.
for sure.
Okay.
Exactly. It's just, in the music industry, no one, when Beyonce releases a single, we know it'll be successful.
Sure.
We just don't know how successful. Will it be a hit? We have no idea, right? So when you're looking at a mid-tier band, who knows, man? No one has that kind of crystal ball.
Yeah.
So that's why we always say, hey, listen, You are buying a share in a song because you love the artist, because you love that song. It's no different. The price points are like $75. So it's no different than going to the concert and buying a t-shirt. Hopefully you can get a concert ticket for $75. I don't know if you can
I
anymore.
was going to say you can't do both. You do one or the other for 75.
Yeah, exactly. And we do have tiers, which is cool because if you think back to the Kickstarter days and things like that, if you buy 5 units, you might get a Zoom call, or you buy 10. We did a Bullet Boys campaign. And if they bought, I think it wasn't 100 units, but at a certain level, the number of units you got, they would, of course you had to pay their expenses, but like they would come in and do, an acoustic set in your house. So artists can layer based on how many units you purchase, different kinds of fan incentives, which is always cool as well. So it's not just about, again, buying that one share. It's, hey, if I get 5, I get, a signed lyric sheet or something like that.
When I think of startups, especially most tech startups, they are usually two-sided markets. You have the Airbnb as a classic example. I have people who have houses who would like to make some money, and I have people who are going to a location and I would like a house. There's your two-sided market, right? You have a two-sided market here, pretty much. What's different, at least off the top of my head, what sounds different is, generally speaking, when I talk to startups, getting the house side of Airbnb, the vendor, as it were, is relatively easy because they are just desperate to get their name out there. And they want their house and they want to make some money. That's the whole point. They're fine. If you market to them pretty easily, they're an easy sell. The hard part generally is to get the consumer who has no idea who you are to sign up for your service and be that middleman that you want to be as the two-sided market. When I think about yours is hard on both sides, right? Because you got artists, and I'm thinking like a TLC or something, a known entity, not a completely newcomer. You've got to convince them that this is worth their time because these are, TLC is a famous group. People know them. And I'm sure you have others in that genre. I doubt you have the Taylor Swifts in the world, but that's a rare breed in and of itself. But that's now a hard sell for you. So your two-sided market is tricky. It sounds, am I wrong in that assessment?
No, you're 100% right. And it flip-flops on both sides, right? The music industry as a whole is not very entrepreneurial. They don't like to try new things. They probably feel like they've been burned on some of the entrepreneurial things, i.e. streaming. So they're very protective of their fans. They're very protective of their brand, and they want to see it work several times with artists that they know or respect or, have some kind of visibility in before they're going to do it. The good news is what we've seen normally in the music industry is there's a snowball effect. So that while right now, I would say we're in the very early phases of finding the right mix of artists, finding the right mix of what it is that we're packaging and selling, like a big thing that we're figuring out right now for someone who drops into our page from an artist is, what is it? What is it that we're selling? What is this thing, this invested fan, and what does it mean to them? And how can we make it more tangible? Just like I was saying, it used to be purely digital. And now we're like, okay, we really need to treat this as memorabilia. They need to have something they can see, they can touch, they can feel that says, hey, this is what I'm buying. I'm buying this 7-inch vinyl, then this awesome cover art. And it also comes with this, financial incentive on top of it. So those are all the things that we're figuring out. But what we feel on the artist side is while we're having a hard time knocking down each one individually, we know that in 6 months or 12 months from now, once it's successful, that our outbound team will actually slowly turn into inbound. Because once the music industry really sees, again, if we're successful, then we will have that nut somewhat cracked. Okay. The reverse of it is if you're a Masterworks or a Rally Road or fractional real estate, the hardest thing that you have and where you're going to spend most of your money is on the consumer side, trying to break down to get to those consumers. And that is actually the easiest thing for us. Now, of Granted, we still have to figure out what it means to be that invested fan and the packaging and all of that. But at the end of the day, the artist brings their fans. I don't have to go out and find a fan. We just need to make sure that we target artists that already have that fan base. They've already sold merch to them before. They already have whether it's a email database or they've already got, a number on Instagram and Facebook, et cetera. They've sold tickets, sold things at venues. So that particular piece is a lot easier for us because then what we're doing is we're basically saying, okay, here's your marketing plan. Here are the things that I want you to do over the next 30 days to engage fans, to do live streams, videos. We're going to boost all of this through collaborative posts and everything else. And we'll put some of our own marketing dollars into it as well. But that's actually the easier part of the equation. And really, from my standpoint, is the game changer in our model because we don't have to spend a dime, outside of what we have as a profit margin to go out and engage those fans. Ours is not getting people, to the landing page. It's getting them all the way through the funnel. So that's the difference in our model from kind of other types of companies, like you were saying, that makes me excited because of a scalability and cost and profitability perspective.
So you're not actually worried about developing a product that you have to give out. You're just giving a toolkit to the artist for their fans, for them to interact with their fans. I'm sure the toolkit's going to change based on the artist and the fans and what they want to accomplish with it. But so you don't even have to worry about connecting any kind of networking between the two groups. You're just basically an in-between and an idea provider.
That's exactly right. And
okay.
And then the next evolution of our company, though, will be in between artist and fan. That is like the next level is saying, okay, you're going to release a new album or you're going to drop a new single. Okay, we're going to take that information, make sure it gets to those invested fans. And then we're going to track, was there lift in between those two? So the next phase or the next evolution of SongVest really becomes that fan engagement platform, being able to say, hey, we know artists, when you're dropping new music, if you have 10,000 invested fans, we're going to get, 7,500 that are going to post on socials. That's going to give you a lift of X. We're going to have X number of people that are going to do Y, and make sure that we track all of those metrics because, again, if we're successful in showing what invested fans can do for you as an artist, then that makes doing a campaign with us even more compelling. And that's also something we could potentially charge for because we own those invested fans. So being able to get access to them has to come through us.
Big Pixel builds world-class custom software and amazing apps. Our team of pros puts passion into every one of our projects. Our design-infused development leans heavily on delivering a great experience for our clients and their clients. From startups to enterprises, we can help craft your ideas into real-world products that help your business do better business.
From a business perspective, you guys have been around almost 5 years, this current iteration, I should say. And so where are you guys? Are you on a runway? Are you self-sufficient? Or is this just getting its legs? Where are you guys sitting at from a business perspective?
So we're really lucky in that back in, again, 2007, 2008, and kind of the first version of SongVest, we found out really quickly that this kind of fractional model that we created would not scale because we needed the artists involved. And what I had one artist that was super successful, and then I had a whole bunch of songwriters, but they were songwriters, who wants the songwriter's version of a Beyonce song? They don't. I found that out really quick. In 2011, I started a company called Royalty Exchange, which was the first company to allow songwriters, producers, and artists to package up their royalties and sell it to investors. And I sold that company in 2015. So my core background was selling catalogs. And this can be a catalog for as small as $25,000, as high as At SongVest now, our highest transaction was $10 million. So these are catalogs that we were selling to high net worth individuals. Then the music catalog market took off after 2015, after I sold the company. So I still stayed doing private catalog sales, but I'm a tech entrepreneur at heart. I had co-started a company that did food truck scheduling for like office parks and things like that. And then, of course, when COVID hit, all of that came to a stop. And so I'd already been doing catalog sales. That's when I pulled SongVest off the shelf because I never got rid of that domain. And what has been our bread and butter, keeping the lights on, has been the catalog sales. So we were actually doing really well with the catalog sales and advances, and again, profitably. And that's when I said, you know what, there's enough business here for me to go raise a little bit more capital, because to get through the SEC process is highly painful and very expensive. So we raised some capital and got qualified in end of 2021. And of course, during that time, this is just great. I don't know if you remember, but in the end of 2021 was when like NFTs had just exploded. So
We've been making fun of them since about that. That sounds right.
Yeah. So we thought, hey, this is great. We're going to launch at the end of 2021. No one has ever done this before. Fractionalized music royalties. This is great. And then NFTs, they were like, NFTs can do that. NFTs can do anything, that you can fractionalize the world with NFTs. And we were just like, I promise you, you can't. See, there's this whole thing about the SEC that I've been trying to do this since 2008. And I put that NFTs.
No one would listen back then.
Yeah. Hell no. No one no one even cared about what we had done. And it was amazing to me. I'm like, oh my God, like I've been waiting so long to do this. And then I finally do, and no one cares. So anyway, just fast forward, we had to get through that, whole NFT thing, and it had to explode.
A horrible day.
The good news is the catalog business keeps the lights on, and then trying to raise capital, right? Here's some lessons here. Like we, all the capital we have raised have been from people inside the company, inside our ecosystem. So people who are investors on the platform. It tried to raise venture capital, tried to raise outside. And then finally, 2 years ago, I'm like going, you know what, guys, why am I spending my valuable time to go out and do this when we're almost cash flow positive? So like beginning of this year, I stopped. I said, you know what, our focus now is to get to cash flow positive, which we've done for this year, and to get profitable next year. And then just rock on from there. It's just people think that like when you get a press release or when you get funding, like that solves something. It doesn't solve anything. It's just one more step that you have to take, but it doesn't solve the core problem of the business, which is, you have to get people that want to buy your stuff and ultimately buy it at a price that, outweighs your expenses. At least for 99% of the other companies out there, except for the ones that somehow get bought out at some point. So yeah, that was our story of how we got it.
How big is your team? You keep saying our and we. I was just curious, like for something like this, does it require a lot of people at least, or is it just managed pretty well with just a small team?
No, I would say it's still a small team. It's myself, my CFO on the sales side. And a lot of these people everyone's still 1099, everyone's still a consultant.
Okay.
We have on kind of the sales side, 5 people that are out in the field, meaning, that are what I would say business development people. And then we've got probably another 3 folks that are internal that are, doing contracts and moving the process along, customer support, things like that. So it's not a huge team. We've done, I'm a CTO at heart, so I've done all the technology. We've done that on a shoestring, just because we needed to, but everything is up and working, and, it's always fun. Building technology is always fun to me.
So do you guys have patents or something? What is it that stops Universal or whatever big, huge music company from going, that's a cool idea, let's do that for our library of people?
Yeah, from the music industry, it's just they have a lot of other stuff that's going on.
Sure.
And maybe once we're big enough, they may think of doing that. But we've already had one company that has done what we've done, who came after us, that, they've already come and gone. And I think the main reason is that it's really hard to create something new for the music industry.
Sure.
And it's really hard if you don't have a cash flow business that allows you to take 3 years to get to where we are right now, right? If SongShares were our only business, then we would have been gone a year or 2 years ago. But it's great that we have had this whole catalog, company to support us so that we can try this and then try that, then try this, and, continuously try and figure this out. And I would say, that's 3 years in. I think this 4th year is going to be our year. We have finally got all the little pieces in place that I think will start to really accelerate. And what's great is, it doesn't take much for us to get not just profitable, but highly profitable without having to put a whole bunch of extra infrastructure in place. So that's the most exciting piece, is I can go, wow, man, actually, if we just do 50% of our forecast, we're going to be not only profitable, but, pay back some people that we owe some money on, and, really start to rock and roll it by the end of the year. So that's what's super exciting for me.
So let me ask you, this should be a fun question. So put on your little wizard hat and jump in front of me for 5 years, and all of your aspirations have come true. What is SongVest doing?
I think that SongVest will ultimately move further and further into the new economy of music. And this is where I think it could go, but it just depends on whether the music industry could support something like it. All of this works out and fans can get on board and they understand what they're doing. Then I really could see this as a destination for up and coming music, to where you go, hey, I heard that band, they're playing, here in the Southeast, and that wouldn't be me, but let's say you're in college, you're following the local bands, and, you go, hey, I really like that band. Oh my gosh, that band is on this like kind of fantasy football portal, and I can buy some shares in that band for, $5 a share, and try and track that band and, see if that band starts to go up to where, it's because right now it's all memorabilia. But where I could see it go at some point, where again, you really go towards brand new bands, that you could see it as more of kind of a fantasy football. I'm just betting on a whole bunch of bands that I like, and, maybe one of those will do well. And that's the buy low, sell high mentality. We do not want that in our marketplace today. But if you were to say, where could this end up? I could see that it could end up over there. And a lot of people want to try and start there, right? They're like, oh, that would be so cool to create now. And I'm like, no, it would, one, take $100 million, and two, the market's not ready for it. Like you have to prep people to understand what it even means to engage in that. And maybe that's where it might end up.
Now, wrapping up with the question that we ask everybody else, you've already had 2 businesses now related to music. So I'm assuming music is a passion of yours. But other than that, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give to an entrepreneur or a business starting up?
Yeah, I think for any entrepreneur, it's no or no thank you is a good word. If there is going to be one thing that you're going to hear a ton, it's going to be, well, I'm not, that's not for me. I wouldn't invest in that. Why are you doing that? And so the overall advice that, I give any entrepreneur is, you're going to hear that a lot. And if you can't get through that, then you really can't be successful. There's people that have ideas every single day. The difference between them and a successful entrepreneur is that they just don't listen to no, right? They're just a bull in a china shop. So that would be the first piece. I think the second piece is, especially for folks that are going out and really raising some serious money, is like, raising money is not the end game. It's not, the goal is not to raise money. The goal is to build a successful company and to know the money that you raise you should think of that as the last money you're ever going to get, because I've been told, by venture capitalists who invested in us at one point, we're in a different company. They said, no, we'll never, not fund you, at our board meeting. Like, we're never going to let you run out of cash. Yeah, they are. If you're not that next unicorn, and that's the big fallacy that I think people see in VCs. VCs are just betting. They're not betting on you to create an operational company. They're betting on you to be a unicorn. And as soon as you're not a unicorn anymore, they will drop you like a hot coal because you're not important to them anymore. They're not like, who's the guy on CNBC, Marcus, he's not a Marcus out there, giving you some money to run, just a profitable company. So that'll be the second one. And then the third one is, focus on your product to make money. Just unless you really think that there is some Facebook or whoever that's going to buy you because, you have 1 million people on your platform, doesn't necessarily equate to, that's a gamble, right? That's not a business model. You're hoping that someone is going to acquire you because, you've built a ton of traction, but if you have no revenue, then you have no hope of being a successful company. Then you are betting on everyone in that company's life that, it's only a purchase or else we're going to go bust. And that always scares the hell out of them. Anyway, so those would be my 3 main suggestions for any kind of entrepreneur.
Very practical. So if anybody wants to learn more about SongVest or yourself, how can they get in touch or reach out?
Yeah, it's just songvest.com. I'm on LinkedIn. My email's super easy. Just Sean at SongVest.
Hi, I'm Christy Pronto, Content Marketing Director here at Big Pixel. Thank you for listening to this episode of the BizDev Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email, hello@thebigpixel.net.